Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Basketball PH podcast. Enjoy the show.
Fantasy Basketball PH. Put your money where your mouth is. Ibang talakayan kaya tara halika. Fantasy Basketball PH ang rebound. Fantasy Basketball PH. Ang numero unong basketball patasya ng Pinas. Fantasy Basketball PH. Dito mapag-uusapan mga ballers na likas. Fantasy Basketball PH. Put your money where your mouth is. Iba't ibang talakayan kaya tara halika. Fantasy Basketball PH ang bida. Ang bahina na ito'y magsisilbing daungan sa mga hilig na ang basketball ay mapag-usapan. Kasama si Papi Roy, madami kang matututunan gaya ng strategy, analysis sa kaganapan. Pag-uusapan ang DFS, roto head to head, buy low, sell high, add, draft and trade, magic bunot at iba pang transaction sa laro. Lahat dito'y tatalakayin kayo, wag na lumayo. Bida dito yung mga player na magaling kumamada, mala Nikola Jokic at Victor Wembanyama. Yung mga hustle na player like Russell and Dillon at iba pa ay dito natin pwedeng makasyon. Let's talk about NPBL, UAAP and PBA together with NCAA and NBA. At sa lahat ng mga nangungopya ka ng literal, sa aking mga content di rin kayo magtatagal.
Okay, another episode for the Fantasy Basketball PH podcast, your Filipino brand of fantasy basketball. Of course, this is your NBA Fantasy Papi Roy in the house. We are the #1 fantasy basketball podcast in the Philippines. So this is going to be a special episode. I think you've been following this series. And before we start and introduce our guest, a big shout out to our sponsor, Daily Fantasy. This is going to help you lead your team to championship. Of course, it enables you to create your dream team using the Daily Fantasy rules and setup. If you want to learn more about this and check it out, just go to their site, www.playdailyfantasy.com. So shout out to Daily Fantasy for supporting this initiative in working with our Team World, which is international analyst combined. So this is going to be a very amazing and big group of minds in the fantasy world. Again, this specific series is about us getting to know the representation around the world for this upcoming FBPH War Game. So let me just quickly give some shout outs. Of course, Adam King, the Team World's El Capitan, lead analyst of FBI. He also hosts Balls Deep podcast and Between Two Dance. Shout out to the Old Man Squad channel, especially Dan Bestbris. We also have Dan Titus of Yahoo Fantasy and Roto World. We have Rafael Johnson of Roto World. We have, of course, T-Mac, NBA Fantasy Bible of Between Two Hoops. Our special guest for today, Kayla Fonte from Last Word on Sport and Just Be Ballin. And then we have Scott Keller, Manny Spadman, and I think he's with Podcast Pierre and Wheels I Am Beer. And then just a couple of hours ago, we had Matty G from Inside Sports in our episode. And then lastly, our boy, Eric Zilber from Israel and Day to Day Fantasy. Okay, enough of the shout outs. Let's introduce our special guest. Kayla, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. Busy season for fantasy peeps like us. How are you doing? How's everything? How many drafts have you already done?
Oof. So far, I've only done like 2, but I'm in so many leagues. Like I'm trying to keep up, and it's just piling up.
Yeah, we're currently doing the new format that Adam King introduced right now. I
hmm
actually
I think it's my turn to pick, or I might be next. I can't remember. But
almost. It's Alex pick right now, so you're
oh, so I'm
next.
next. Yeah.
But it's a slow draft, so we have enough time.
hmm
I actually forgot about this earlier, so shout out to Mitch Casey for reminding me. I was recording an episode with Mate G. I was auto pick Giannis Antetokounmpo, which fine, totally fine with it.
Good pick.
Yeah, and I'm doing. I don't know if you're playing Dota. Not sure if you know. There's a certain character named Ogre Magi. So his super like her his end skill or the biggest skill of his is called multicast because once it you got hit by that sorcery, it's gonna multiply for several numbers. That's my theme. So the theme of my team for this league is multicats instead of multicast. Because I pick Yaris and then Durant. Weird combination, right? And
Mm.
fan free throw, then I got Durant, and then LeBron, and then Jalen Johnson. I think I'm getting a lot of stats out of those four forward. But
Oh yeah.
enough of that. Let's talk about you, Kayla. So you've been in a lot of shows already in
Hmm.
the past year. We've met each other through DMAC. And then I think there's more to learn from you. And I want this episode to actually be that medium for you to share the story, how it all started. Because it's very rare in our space to have someone like you as a female representative of the fantasy side of not only the world, but of course for genders, which we
Hmm.
love because we were finding ways to really reach more audience because fantasy is very very good. You know
Hmm.
it's there's a lot of layers for you to love fantasy. So yeah, tell us your story.
Yeah, so I'm relatively new to fantasy. I got into it about, I want to say 3 years ago now. But I've been doing the analysis part of it for 2 years. I'm going into my second year. Um, but yeah, I've always played basketball. I just never started fantasy until a friend of mine got me into it. So I started doing a couple leagues and I started with points. So that's why I've always felt more comfortable with that kind of format. But then it's funny because this year I'm actually doing more cat leagues than points. I think I'm only in like two. But anyway, I'm just trying to like broaden my experience with that too. But yeah, no, third year now going into it. And last year was the first time that I started doing analysis. And this is because DMAC actually reached out to me wanting to do a podcast with me. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like I would love to do it. Because at the time I just started writing about fantasy as well. So I had like a couple articles published and I think he noticed me through one of those. So it really just took off from there. And then now I have a second podcast coming with Yuri, Bitches Be Balling, and we're just trying to get more women involved. I've noticed there's not really very many women analysts or players out there, so we're just trying to expand that reach because fantasy is for everyone. So we've started also our own all women's league, which is going to be really great this year that we're very excited for.
Yeah, and I actually endorsed one of our GMs in the community. Her
Mhm.
name is Camille Enriquez. So I don't know if she already reached out to you, but
I did reach out to her. Yeah, yeah. I got to see if who's in the league. We had a lot of people trying to get in, which is great.
Nice, nice. I hope he gets in. There's another one, but she's a little bit shy. But
Oh,
she's been
okay.
following you already. So
Well,
I told,
awesome.
yeah, I told her next year it's her time, right? So for now,
Hmm.
I think Camille will be representing at least the community here in our country. Hopefully more. I don't know if someone else reached you out, but this is a very good initiative. I know several known podcasters, influencers slash girl basketball players. And the moment I get in touch with them, I'm definitely gonna recommend them to maybe drop in
Send
your
them my
show or
way.
catch up with you for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. We're just
And
trying to build like a really big community for women to feel, comfortable and encouraged to play fantasy.
yeah, girl power. And maybe
Yeah.
WNBA recognizes that.
Hmm.
Understanding that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has been all over the place. So hopefully we get a WNBA fantasy coming in the future, right? I don't know if it's there already, but I haven't really heard of it. But it's a good opportunity for them to really strike it while it's hot. And you are already here to, keep it going. Okay, so aside from getting to know the story, I guess our community and our esteemed followers would also love to check your profile and hey, how does Kayla profiles the players she likes, right? So I usually ask this to our guests. 3 rounds. First couple of rounds are the initial rounds, maybe the first round to the fourth round, and then middle rounds, and then last round. who are the players that you usually like this season?
So I'm going to be revealing all my secrets here.
I think your followers already know it because
They do, they
we've
do.
been
That's the thing.
watching you and DMAC.
And that's the thing about being an analyst, right? Like all your names are out there. So anytime you do a league, it's very easy for
Yeah.
people to know what you're picking. But I'll give a couple of names here. So like for the early rounds, like I would say late first, early second, Trey Young and James Harden. Those are two of the biggest names for me right now. I just think that they have huge opportunities this season, obviously due to the offseason moves that happened. With Atlanta, the absence of DeJounte Murray just creates a huge hole in that backcourt, and Young is now the sole star of that team. So I think we can expect him to just really go off this year, which is going to be great. So I haven't been able to get him in any leagues yet. I wanted him in the one that we're doing with Adam King, but DMAC took him, I think. He took him at the eighth pick or something, and I was trying to get him at 10th because I'm picking last, but I ended up getting Tatum instead, which I think is still a good steal for at that position. So
Yeah.
I'll take it. DMAC, you're forgiven. I'll get him next time.
But you get Harden.
I did. I did get Harden. So, because I was, yeah, I had the last pick, so I got to pick again. So I'm like, you know what? Second round, first pick. I'll take Harden. Easy, no question. I know a lot of people are still a little bit hesitant about his age, injury concerns, him wanting to play, but I just think he has that huge opportunity with Paul George gone. And Kawhi Leonard, we don't really know what's going on with him exactly. He already had that off-season knee procedure. Little bit of questions around his availability for the upcoming season. And I'd feel way more comfortable taking Harden over Kawhi. That's just a no-brainer for me, especially with the elite assists that he could produce.
For
Just makes
sure.
sense.
For sure, for sure. And I would also add the angle off the court wherein the LA Clippers showcasing their and possibly the best and most amazing arena currently in the NBA
Hmm.
teams. And they needed to fill those seats with a superstar. So just in
Yep.
case, knock on the wood, if if something's happened to Kawhi, it's gonna be James Harden, and James Harden loves that. I think
Hmm.
he's that type of a player. You know, if spotlight is there's opportunity to get a spotlight, he'll definitely take that. So yeah, I really like James Harden. And imagine the jump. The we start in at least in
Hmm.
Yahoo, he was right late second round, and now he's within the first
Yeah.
round already. And actually, he's not getting picked in the second round anymore. He's being reached after Trey Young, especially to those that doesn't like drafting Joel Embiid
Yep.
and those who are having a hard time building around Tyrese Halliburton. Because in our community, that's one difference in the international community and in the Philippine community. I noticed that we're a little bit low on Tyrese Halliburton and Tatum over the international league. So I noticed those two really falling in the draft board, and the players that usually are being taken ahead of them is, well, number one is James Harden, and then surprisingly, another guy that you drafted in our league with Adam King, Chet Holmgren. So I guess it's a strategy thing, because we
Yeah.
can talk about projections and rating like for hours, but at the end of the day, the people that are drafting Chet are has a strategy. There's a
That was me.
certain plan, right? And there you go. That was you. Because there's several analysts that won't take Chet as early as that. But for
Hmm.
me, as long as you have a plan, then that's
Yep.
fine. It's called fantasy for a reason. So we have enough time to analyze and give much respect to the statistical part of it. But when you're drafting and you're imagining your team and you like Chet, there's no reason for you not to take Chet at that point. So yeah, go ahead,
Exactly.
get daddy long legs.
It's also about taking risks too, right? And trying different things. Chet is someone who I wasn't able to grab last year. So yeah, I did reach for him a little bit, I will say that. But just to have that opportunity to have them on my team, I'll take it. Like, yeah, there's Hardenstein there now, but I think we could still expect elite things, especially in the defensive categories from Chet.
Exactly, I'm glad that you mentioned about taking risks because for me in fantasy and actually in even even in other industries, the moment you have that gray area, that not only gives you the risk but also the opportunity. So there could be a jump that we don't know. So that's the
Hmm.
fun of it. It's more of like, hey, let me just let me take the risk because there could be a good payoff. So that differs. That's gonna be subjective, but again, that's the beauty of fantasy. That's the reason
Hmm.
why we love fantasy sports. How about the middle rounds? Who do you got for the middle rounds?
I think I could place Emmanuel quickly at about the middle round. Like he's more so of like a fourth rounder, but I'm gonna talk about him just because I'm a Raptors fan, so I have to. But breakout season incoming. We got a glimpse of that last year after he was traded from New York, and he just looks so impressive, especially his increase in assists. I believe he had an increase in almost every main category except for a couple. It might have been like one of the efficiency categories. I can't remember what it was, but to see that kind of improvement just across the board and the chances that he's going to have as the leading point guard of Toronto, it's going to be crazy, right?
Yeah,
He's the future
definitely.
of that team with Scotty Barnes. It's a rebuilding season. They're like Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett. Those are two Raptors I'm very, very high on this year. And that kind of goes into my late pick for RJ Barrett, especially in category leagues. But those two, I would love to get them
And
in any of my leagues.
especially if you check the rotation players that they have right now, I think
Mm-hmm.
the starter's gonna get a lot of minutes because
Yep.
they're very thin. But you might not like as a Raptors fan, you might not like my take, like my
Uh-oh.
conspiracy theory that I recently posted. I also post another one like a couple of days ago. So this is about Jakob Pertl's interview. Have you watched that? I'm pretty sure you saw it.
I saw what he said. And I was like, scroll. All right. You can think it, but you can't say that. Like what
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
what?
come on, Jakob, my guy. I love you.
Yeah, like the morale just and the look on his face, he looked like so depressed. And I was like, okay,
As a
that's
former
good news.
Spurs guy, I really love that dude. But dude, come on, why are you saying those statements? But me, I was because I tried to get because when I as a fan of you and a lot of fantasy pips, I thought that hey, I wanted to create something different because I think everyone's already consuming the highlight. So I don't want to touch on that. You already
Hmm.
discussed some of the aspects like how I wanted to discuss it. So, I don't want to repeat it. So I was thinking of, hey, I wanted to create an angle by reading between the lines. So I focused more on those interviews and then, the subtle changes and all. So I was telling, in my post, I was kind of like creating a conspiracy theory that, oh, okay. So now that you mentioned that, I was thinking that maybe the Raptors would try to get a bite if they can win, which just to be real, it's going to be challenging, especially in the
Hmm.
West. And the moment it won't work, I'm kind of like really scared on how would they manage their players. I think IQ is safe because of his age and all. Barrett
Hmm.
and Scotty Barnes as well. Pirtle, I'm not sure, especially that
Yeah, I don't know anymore after
the source
that.
the source came from him. But with this point, I was actually pointing. We had an exchange of tweets earlier about Grady Dick because I was kind of like I was poking some fun because I was saying that hey, if everyone's gonna see it or they want to maximize and pump or boost their chances to maybe get a Cooper Flag ish of a player in the
Hmm.
next draft, then they might shove some dick in our in our minds, right? So I was, poking fun around it. But essentially, it's a little bit true because in several deep leagues that I already drafted, even before that interview, and then the moment I needed some snipes, late rounds, usually last rounds, it's either I'm gonna pick Sam Hauser because it's head to head.
Hmm.
I think that's gonna be a value there. Then it's going to be Grady Dick just because of the, Bruce Brown being down. So there's already
Yep.
an opportunity for him to play. And now with the Yahoo Portal statement, it kind of like empowers me like, oh, let's try Grady Dick. Why not? Last pick. So
You know what?
yeah.
A lot of people are high on him this year too, and it makes sense. Like it's not a championship season. I will say that. I can say that because I'm not a Raptors player, but they're gonna develop their players. That's kind of the whole point of a rebuilding season and something like this, and they have that opportunity to do so. So why not?
Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of like people got confused with the direction of the Toronto Raptors because
Yeah.
the moves that they did, acquiring Jakob Poeltl and all, and then eventually now they're in the direction of rebuilding and stuff. But yeah, it is what it is. Let's see.
Hmm.
Let's see. But speaking of Grady Dick, last round, go for the upside, especially if you're a Toronto Raptors fan. And of
Hmm.
course, if you want to make and poke some fun in naming your team, I would really understand why will definitely draft him. Late rounds. Since we mentioned late rounds or last rounds,
Hmm.
who are your guys? I think you already did a sleeper episode with
Yeah.
D-Mac. Yeah.
Yeah, that overlaps a lot with like my late round picks. A lot of guys in the Warriors to watch out for. Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis. Those are two big names. More so Pajemski, I would say, just because it's pretty clear that he should have that starting role, which gives him the advantage, especially with Klay Thompson gone. I think the Warriors are very high on him, especially when you see all those articles about they want him to take like 8 threes per game and things like that. With Jackson Davis, I think his role is still a little bit unclear. I think he'll start the season off the bench, but I think we could expect to see him starting quite a bit, especially with Draymond Green, availability issues, as we know. Also with their aging core, they're gonna want to try and get these guys to learn from these veteran players. So those are two big candidates for me. With the Clippers, there's also Norman Powell, who I absolutely love, especially as a former Raptor. I think he'll be great this year. He's also projected to come off the bench, I believe, but he's still going to provide that veteran presence to their younger core. He'll be tasked with carrying a heavier offensive load this year. He can give you some points, threes, couple of rebounds, solid efficiency, not a high turnover guy too, which is good for him. Scoot Henderson, Keontae George, both sophomores. They're projected to have bigger roles this year, which will help their value, especially for Scoot too. I think that after the really underwhelming year that he had, he's going to be determined to prove himself this year. And we saw glimpses of his potential late in last season. And now that Malcolm Brogdon is gone, it opens up more um, usage and minutes for him as well. And Dyson Daniels. I almost forgot about him. He's a huge sleeper pick, and DMAC agrees with this. We both love him this year. Like we mentioned with Trae Young, there's that hole in the backcourt from DeJounte Murray. So I think we can expect him to start at shooting guard, even if it's not right away. But I think there's a huge year upcoming for him. He can especially give you those defensive stats too. His offensive game still needs polish, but it'll come along. Like we can't expect him to get like 20 points per game, but I think he can still give you like a solid amount of points.
Yeah, and I totally agree on that, especially in terms of fit. I think
Mhm.
he fits better with Trey in the starters over
Mhm.
Bogey playing as a starter. I think Bogey
Yep.
might end up trying to get a six-man award this year because he's been doing great
Hmm.
off the bench. And again, it really fits well because he has more leeway in terms of managing and being the ball taker off the bench. So I think uh Dyson Daniels needs more love, at least in our community, because well, maybe at least in the what around 20 leagues that I've organized for the community of fantasy basketball here in the Philippines. I actually noticed that we're a little bit low on Dyson Daniels, so I've been getting some stacks of Dyson Daniels. I love it, but yeah, I think that's gonna turn, especially with a good performance earlier today in the
Hmm.
preseason. Dyson Daniels showed why he is hyped in the fantasy world, and he actually did a good job in the Olympics. So I love to see him blossom in the Hawks opportunity. You
Hmm.
talked about Scoot. I'll be doing. So I've been reading several articles and tweets in the past days, and I was planning like to create a episode about bad picks. So it's more of like every player that most analysts and things that I notice in the league that are sliding, uh I'm gonna call them sleeper of sleepers because there's certain sleepers, and if you really don't like them, they're gonna sleep more. So
Mhm.
for me, that's the ultimate sleepers. And then I'm gonna, these are essentially possible bad picks, but I'm gonna try to justify a route that it could be a good pick. So, like for example, a Ben Simmons.
That's
So,
exactly who I was thinking of. As
right?
soon as you said sleeper, I was like, yep, that's Ben Simmons.
Yeah, because there are layers about the hate of Ben Simmons, and
Mhm.
in fantasy, it's logical not to really be excited with Ben Simmons despite the IG post because year and year again, he haven't played a lot. It's always an upside, but never materialized. But again, maybe it's this year. it's
Maybe. I feel like we say that every year. Like, I came this close to drafting him last year, but I was like, you know what? I'll go with someone else instead. And in the long run, it paid off. Obviously, he didn't really play last year, but it's just so hard to take a chance on him, especially when you know that the Nets, they're not like a competitive team. So it doesn't help, but
yeah.
it's tricky.
The Nets is going to be the worst team this year. That's
Cooper flag
how,
tank.
yeah, for sure. Because aside from Cam Thomas, I don't know who's gonna take shots there. They also
Mhm.
lack shooters, and their best piece to be traded that has good value is Cam Johnson. So who else is going to be there? Who's going to be left? So, but that's my angle for Ben Simmons. He
Mhm.
doesn't like the pressure. He doesn't like the spotlight. Apparently, he had issues off the court. He was mentioning about him being mentally stressed about it and all. So in a, for the lack of words, trash team and trash season, why not make the best out of it? And as a
Mhm.
last pick, I'm thinking with the scarcity of assist, you can just curse him and then drop him after a couple of weeks. But I'd take a shot. I'm gonna hype Ben Simmons for for
I
a
would
bad
probably do it
reason.
more so in a points league though, because like at least like he'll give you that value in the main categories, but like free throw percentage, threes. Like I would feel more comfortable in a points league, like as a last flyer pick.
Yeah.
But cats, I don't know.
It, also, if I mean fantasy or reality, come to think of it, imagine him, you know, being in the floor, and then you also have Claxton. And then Cam Thomas who loves one on one. Who's gonna there's no outside shooting. It's going to, I don't know. It should be fast. That's what
Mhm.
that's I'm assuming they're gonna be fast. But with against better defense, and which is maybe most of the whole league, I don't know. It's going to be awful for sure. Okay. Yeah, so that's my plan. Hoping to get a list of it. I'm gonna try a couple of early rounds as well. Like for example, I've been getting a lot of Joel Embiid. I
Oh yeah?
in one of the industry mock draft that I was invited with. Shout out to Ito Sports, the legends Rick Kamla, Dr. A, and Aaron Bruski. I came in there with a plan of creating a bulletproof build for Joel Embiid. So I was fanboying with the legends, but technically I'm having a lot of fun thinking of ways how do I bulletproof Joel Embiid, and I came up with something, and I want to hear your thoughts about it. I thought that, hey, what if you assume that you're gonna pick Joel Embiid as your third pick, even though you're gonna pick him first, but strategy wise, think of him as, hey, this is a third round value, and then that's it. Would you be more willing to get Joel Embiid?
Maybe a little bit, but the thing with Embiid is just those injury concerns are just too much for me. Like I actually never drafted Embiid before. Never, not once. This year, I probably wouldn't, but that's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah. I've been trying that because I see value there, but a lot of
Mhm.
risk. So
That's the thing.
usually my strategy is, of course, pick one. Joel Embiid, usually the best spot that I can't really help myself to pick him is in the last couple of picks in the first round. So if
Hmm.
he really goes there, then I might end up picking him most of the time, which I did in most of my leagues. Not most, I think that just three of my leagues. One of them is because I was lazy trying to trying to think. It's a hard day and I don't want to think anymore. Oh, that giving Joel Embiid. It's easy to start with a big scorer and the big man. Anyways, so
Hmm.
going back to the train of thought that I had was gonna pick Joel Embiid, and then I need to pick a strong big man just in
Hmm.
case he goes down, I still have a strong big man. So I usually target Carl Anthony Towns. So I have Joel Embiid and
I like
Carl
that
Anthony
pick.
Towns. And then third round, hoping that Paul George slides, which of course it won't. But I'm gonna target Tyrese Maxey as a usage handcuff because I'm optimistic about Joel Embiid playing. My concern, I'm not a little bit concerned about him being injured. I'm concerned about the maintenance part. I think what's gonna
Hmm.
happen is he either plays less minutes, or of course 100% not gonna play back to backs. So my
Yeah.
strategy is who's gonna get the usage. If I get Tyrese Maxey, that's gonna still fall to my team, and then later rounds I'm gonna pick Drummond just for positional
Hmm.
backup. So that's my plan, but it's hard to pull off because you
It's
don't
hard
know
because
if they're
there's so many
available.
things to think
Yeah.
about. But I like the handcuffing strategy because, like, if you're gonna do that, do it with the 76ers, right? Especially with the injury concerns there. Like Embiid, I don't know if we can trust him. That's the problem. But like, if he falls far enough, it's something I would consider because in most of the leagues that I've done, I've seen him go in like the back end of the first round, which I'm still like, okay, that's all right, but
But
it's
you get
hard.
James Harden.
I got James Harden, so I don't know. We'll see. It's just because I'm projecting like that big season from him, but still injury concerns there too, especially like I think he's 35 years old, so
Yeah. So Team Philippines, let's try to slide Joel Embiid to Kayla to
I'll take
skew
him off
her
your hand,
plan.
sure, why not?
Okay, so last part of this episode would like you to share your message to the Philippine community, of course to the Team Philippines that you're gonna go against with, and then
Mhm.
also plug anything that you have right now.
So I'll just start off with good luck. Um, Bobby, we're so grateful that you organized this league and we're very happy to join. But you guys are going down. That's
There you
one thing.
go.
I'm starting some trash talk here. We're gonna win Team World. But in all seriousness, no, this is a great league. We're very excited to play. It's great that it's so diverse and it's such a great community. Everyone is so supportive of each other, and it's gonna be a really fun league that I'm really looking forward to. I still gotta work on my strategy with Team World, but no, it's gonna be a great thing.
It's
And also plug out some sorry, what were you say?
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll plug the Bitches Be Ballin' podcast that will be coming out soon. Yuri and I will be recording our first show sometime next week, so we'll get that up and running. We also have a Twitter account now, which is great, and expect some more episodes from Between Two Hoops, me and DMAC. A lot of shows coming before the season starts, and as well as my work at Last Word on Sports. All of my articles can be found there.
There you go. I was about to say that there's gonna be chaos in the
Yes.
FBPH Warzone. It's a different format that's gonna be weird to start off, but it's going to be fun and exciting because
Hmm.
we're
It's
we're
something
you
new. It's something different.
yeah, we're used to just thinking about our own builds.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be different. It's because you have to work with other people that eventually you might go against with in the playoffs as well. So it's it's
Hmm.
it's there's chaos, and I love it. I love it. That's actually my purpose to poke some fun, because if you've been playing fantasy basketball, there's gonna be like an excitement part, and then if you drafted a good enough amount of leagues, and then you're doing this for several weeks, there's gonna be some downside part during the season. And when I
Hmm.
actually experienced that, I thought that, hey, I need to find ways to still have that spark and have something to look forward to. So I thought of this, and hopefully it becomes successful, especially with your support and help. So thank you so much, Team World, especially you guys. We've been working for quite some time. Kayla, me, and DMAC. We've been catching up. We've been doing episodes, and these two international fantasy analysts has been really moving and expanding the network of fantasy by working with several non-analyst people to join their leagues. Now, Kayla really pushing the boundaries and involving uh, female. I call it fantasy GMs
I saw that. I
joining.
love
Yeah,
it. I love it.
joining the scene. So yeah, super love that there's a lot of passion in the group. We have a very good support system in our industry. So looking
We do.
forward to see, watch, read more of you, Kayla.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much again for dropping by. So guys, follow Kayla Bitches B Ballin. I've already tweeted that, so follow that new account, of course,
Thank you.
between two hoops as well. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much, everyone. Like, follow, and subscribe. Fantasy Basketball PH. Usually, in Facebook, that's actually my main area. In Twitter, I'm getting busier compared to last year. I've been tweeting back in the past weeks. And what else? Oh, our usual weekly Q&A and live discussions every Friday. So watch out for that. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.